Saints fans and who-dats from all over the world. This is County Mosley here with the czar of the playbook himself, the native New Orleanian, the man with the plan, and my friend, Mr. Emory Hunt. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine, Kyle. As always, it's a pleasure to see you. Good to see you, and it's a pleasure to be on the show.
Well, look, it's a pleasure to have you, man. You've been doing some big things since the last time we talked. I know you've authored a couple of books. You are now with The Athletic as well as with CBS as an analyst, correct?
Yeah, I sidestepped from The Athletic and joined CBS Sports HQ as an on-air talent. And, you know, we got in next month or April, I still do color commentary. So I have some games coming up. Both TV and radio. So I'm excited about that too. So we've been doing a lot, like you said.
Okay. How's New York these days?
It's cool, man. I love it up here. And again, it's the one that you get 4 seasons. So I love the winter, spring, fall, summer, all that good stuff. And from a business standpoint, it's ideally where I like to be because it's the media capital. So it's a lot going on. And you're just an earshot away from Philly, Boston, DC. So you're in a really good spot, and it keeps you busy that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So let's dive in. I know you're a man with short time, but we're going to try to maximize it as much as possible. Let's talk about the Saints. The current Saints quarterback situation. You have Jameis Winston. You have Taysom Hill. You scouted both of those guys while they were in college. Today they're in the pros. Give me your thoughts about that competition that these two young men will be facing ahead of them.
I don't too much see it as a competition. I think it's Jameis Winston's job. I think when you look at Taysom Hill and why they gave him that contract and why he's always in the mix is because they view him as a skill player in conjunction with their offense. So they're going to use him as how he's always been used, as a wildcat guy, a guy that can be a red zone, short yardage, goal line quarterback if need be. But it's Winston's job as the quarterback because we already know how limited Taysom Hill is on a down basis in throwing the football. Winston gives you upside there. He invites the deep ball back into play, and he's going to have that growth in this offense, having spent the year behind Drew Brees and spent the year within this offense. But I do see Taysom Hill as what he has always been, which is a good, skill player for this offensive attack.
Good. You look at Jameis, and I listened to his press conference with us earlier this week. It seems like he's evolved. He's matured while he sat under Brees, right? Do you think he could be able to limit what all people have been concerned about is the interception rate?
I think so. And I think a lot of it is, it's a shame we live in this society nowadays where everyone focuses on the negative and forgets perspective or doesn't have perspective. Brett Favre threw a lot of interceptions. Peyton Manning threw a lot of interceptions. Marino threw quite a bit of interceptions. Jim Kelly. So nowadays, every pass is scrutinized. But I do think people need to understand this. And I said this when he signed with the Saints last year. He got his eyes checked and corrected. And we saw receivers. Matter of fact, Carlos Davis was a cornerback with Washington, got his eyes corrected, had LASIK surgery like Jameis had because he had no career interceptions. He goes to San Francisco and has his best season in picking off passes because of the correction of the eyesight. Okay. And when you look at Jameis Winston throwing those interceptions, go back and watch a lot of those interceptions. You'll see a good bulk of those were the same type of interceptions, linebackers buzzing underneath. So he had issues with depth perspective or perception, right? So you correct your eyesight in that regard. Now you're able to see and judge from a better depth perspective, and you're going to avoid those throws. So I think we haven't seen this Jameis Winston that's going to take, snaps under center for New Orleans. So, I think people need to have that in mind when they see the Jameis Winston that they see this year juxtaposed to the one we saw in Tampa Bay. Because we haven't seen a corrected eyesight Jameis Winston. So I think with that being the backdrop and him having a year in the system and understanding what Sean Payton wants to do, we know Jameis Winston is a smart dude.
Yeah.
How he dives in the playbook. We saw that at Florida State. He's a historian, so he loves the game. He eats, sleeps, and breathes it. So he's going to put the work in. And I think with that, in conjunction with his eyesight being corrected, we'll see the Winston we saw his freshman year, I believe, at Florida State.
Yeah. Very productive young man at Florida State. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on with the New Orleans Saints currently. This morning, Marshawn Lattimore, their cornerback, got into some unfortunate situations in Cleveland, Ohio. Now, projected for the Saints is that they will take a cornerback somewhere in the early rounds of the NFL draft. What are a few names that the Saints faithful should be concerned with? A lot of people have been circling around J.C. Horn because of his ties with his father, Joe Horn, being a New Orleans Saints legend. Are there any other names or any other cornerbacks other than J.C. that the Saints should possibly target and may fit the system that Chris Richard is going to put in place for those guys?
Well, I think this is a really good year if they need a corner, if they're going to go corner. Horn may not be there, but if he is, you definitely want to run up and make that pick. But if he's not, there's a ton of guys that fit the mold that have a good combination of height, weight, speed, and ball skills. And starting with a guy that I think has the best ball skills, Asante Samuel Jr. So he could play on the outside at 5'10", 185, and he has the explosiveness, the instincts, the ball skills. Cameron Bynum is a tall corner that can play press and also take the ball away. So I like his ability. You have Greg Newsome out of Northwestern, another bigger physical corner. You think about a guy in Caleb Farley. If he's supposed to drop down because of this little back issue or correction, and you wonder how healthy he's going to be, but if he falls, that's a prospect to gamble on. So you think about some of these good core corners. Zach McPherson of Texas Tech is another one. So there's a bunch of guys that the Saints can target outside of those top tier guys like your Patrick Surtain, your J.C. Horn, those type of guys that won't be there when the Saints pick. But the Saints do have a lot of options at their disposal. They could double down on corners. I think they should double down on corners anyway and help that team out in the secondary with guys that can play press, that match up athletically, and can also take the ball away.
That's a good point. We were kicking that idea around with Saints News Network this morning about the possibility of having multiple picks at cornerback anyway. And when the situation occurred this morning and brought to light, it was just like, well, that should have been the Saints contingency plan as well, So I like those picks. I like Asante Samuel Jr. Man, we're getting to that point of our careers now that we're seeing the fathers of guys that we admired before taking the field, right? It's pretty wild.
It really is. I mean, you think of Asante Samuel Jr., you think of J.C. Horn, you think of these guys, and you don't realize how fast time flies. And we probably walked past J.C. Horn when we were younger, covering the Saints or at Saints games, not realizing that's Joe Horn's son. Or you just see Joe Horn with his son, like, oh, it's Joe Horn's son, and I realized Joe Horn's son grew up to be, this outstanding player. So we're seeing it a lot across the board.
Yeah,
at all positions, names we recognize. I mean, last year you had Thaddeus Moss, Zach Moss's son. I mean, not Zach Moss. I'm thinking of Randy Moss's son.
Yeah,
and, so you're just like, wow, like. This is how long these guys have been in the league or been out of the league.
Yeah,
that they have now college age kids that are doing big things. So it's fun to see, and it's always good to see if how far the apple falls from the tree. And for Asante Samuel, I think he is just like his dad. I think his dad should be in the Hall of Fame. I think he's one that plays the right amount of attitude, good footwork, good instincts. The ball skills are there, and if you are a cornerback that can take the ball away, I want you on my team. And Samuel is outstanding.
Yeah. Let's see. There was something you said online about, be careful what you see on Pro Day, that little snippet. Watch the tape. Watch the film. What did you mean by that?
Well, it's a situation where you see it every year. So let's say you're watching today Zach Wilson throw the football and you're wild about those throws, you're ignoring the fact that there is no defense out there. And so you can't allow these clips and workouts and pro day, numbers and testing look great, and then the tape doesn't add up. You saw a guy, last year or 2 days ago, the guy from Penn State, runs a 4.3, jumps 40 something inches, a ridiculous broad jump.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks great, and you like, man, this dude is a fantastic athlete. But then you got to remind yourself he had no sacks this year. That doesn't even make sense. Like how someone that athletic with all that explosiveness going on has no sacks. So you have to, you really have to keep things in perspective. And you can't get into the market of creating football players, because you'll see how Owe tests, and then he'll say something like, well, he can be a dominant pass rusher at the next level. Well, if you haven't seen it before, you're projecting too much, because if that was the case, guys that didn't test as athletic as him, i.e. his teammate, Shaka Tony, he had better production from a sack perspective. And so you can't you could project some things like, okay, if this guy played inside backer, but I like how he's moving in space, maybe we could project him as a sandbacker on the outside or a weak side backer, or he can run and chase, plays away or plays to him. But you can't sit there and say this guy that had no sacks is going to become Julius Peppers. That you can't. That's projecting too far. Now you can say we could probably put him in a situation where we only want him to use his speed, and hopefully that can be a gateway to him having some more sack success. And I know sacks aren't the end all be all, but you want to see somebody with that measures up like that get to the quarterback more than 0 times.
Yeah. Can we just ask one more question about players? Let's stay with the linebackers. Saints may need some help there. Any particular linebacker that you see out in, I guess, as a free agent that may fall probably 2nd, 3rd, 4th round, where the Saints can be able to pick up some value for a young player who may not be projected high on certain draft boards, but based on what they have done, they can be able to come in and contribute for the New Orleans Saints.
Someone like Chad Surratt, I like Chad Surratt out of North Carolina. So he may not be a 1st round pick. And if you're the Saints and you're going to go cornerback in round 1 and you want to double up and get a linebacker in round 2, Surratt is someone that's athletic, can run, can match up. He was a former quarterback going into North Carolina, and at North Carolina, his first year, he played quarterback his freshman season, and then he moved over to linebacker and was excellent. So you can get someone like that in the 2nd round or 3rd round if you want to double up on. He probably won't be there in the 3rd round because he's too athletic and can match up. So you probably will have to go 2nd round with him and another corner in round 3. So that would be someone that I think could fit with the Saints do. The Saints want to play with a lot of speed and athleticism and matching up on the 2nd level. And, Surratt would be good. I think he's excellent. Obviously, Micah Parsons could be a good start. But then that will push your cornerback need to round 2. So you have to really gauge which area you want to attack first. I think cornerback is probably more of a pressing need. So I will go there first, but Surratt would be the guy that I would probably target in round 2 if I'm New Orleans.
Good stuff. All right, Em, thank you so much, man. Tell everybody how they can find you on the World Wide Web.
Well, they can follow me on Twitter at FBallGamePlan. Subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/footballgameplan. They could pick up my 2021 NFL draft guide and get familiar with all these prospects, over 570 individual scouting reports. You can find it at footballgameplan.com/2021 draft guide. And I'm always on CBS Sports HQ, and you can stream that live, Roku, Apple TV, whatever your streaming devices are, cbssports.com/live. You want to just go on the website. So I'm always around talking draft, and those are the places where you can find my work.
Yeah. Look, if you guys don't know, he is a legend himself. That is the czar of the playbook, Mr. Emory Hunt. Look, man, and congratulations to those McMahon guys. They brought home the state championship.
I didn't know about that until I saw we won, and then I immediately had to go and clown my dudes who went to Culver, and half my family too, my mom and everybody on her side of the family went to Culver. So
really,
so best believe, I saw that and I was like, oh wow, McMain is in the basketball championship. I remember the last time we had that good of a team was my sophomore or junior year where we got to, I think, the second round and lost to Ellender. And so, but yeah, to see those dudes go out there, get through the playoffs and into the championship and beat a team like Culver that has a history and prestige, that was just phenomenal. So shout out to them bringing a championship. We used to be known for just girls track championships, but now we got a basketball title in there, and we're still waiting on that football one. But I love what I'm seeing from McMain athletically nowadays. Yeah,
good program. And look, and I have to mention your program, Raging Cajuns. You guys did very well last season. One or two quick kids out of that program going into the NFL draft. Anybody that we should keep our eye on?
Well, the running backs are excellent, and Trey Regis and also Elijah Mitchell. Mitchell played the Senior Bowl, was outstanding, got good speed, good hands, is a threat in the passing game, also as a returner. Regis is a bulldozer, 3-down guy that can run the football and, really can close out a ball game, in my opinion. He reminds me a lot of Jordan Howard. So the good part is that everybody went back. It would have been a lot of pro prospects we'd be talking about now, but they all took advantage, went back. So that Cajuns team should be excellent again next year. But these two NFL prospects right now, Regis and Mitchell, are going to find their way in the draft and also playing, I think, significant roles as rookies.
All right, man. Thank you, Emory, so much for being able to be with us today. Join Bob Rose and I tonight as we welcome Saints legend Willie Whitehead to the Bayou Blitz. So you can follow Emory online, CBS. He does his stuff there. And guys, if you don't know him, go to Football Game Plan. You'll find everything you need to know about Mr. Emory Hunt, a native of New Orleans. I'm Kyle T. Mosley. Emory Hunt, thank you, sir. All right. Y'all take care.